Happy to be here. Happy to meet everyone here. I want to thank Barbara and Marsha for having me here. I was a participant in another event that SOMA had put together last year, which featured a documentary about a waiter named Booker. I can't remember his last name.
Booker's Place. Oh yeah.
Booker's Place. And it was a beautiful documentary that I really want to see again because there was so much so much in there about how people who didn't make the headlines dealt with the civil rights movement and the concerns of that day. So once again, I'm happy to be here to talk to you again about the things that we're facing right now. Like you said,
on mute,
hold on.
Mute, please. Can everybody mute themselves?
Okay. All right. So what I was saying was, as Marsha pointed out, today is Holocaust Remembrance Day. April is a busy month for us when it comes to dealing with fascism and hate mongering. But this particular day is important because it reminds us that, the term is always used, never again. And yet the issue keeps coming up again and again and again and again. And it's time to start really giving that saying some teeth, that slogan some teeth, because we've gone well over the past, I would say, since 1964, we have gone well in progressing and evolving, in creating and building a more, diverse society, a more cohesive society, a society that brings us all together to contribute and work with each other in fellowship and such. I think with the election of Barack Obama back in 2008, it was a shot across the bow to a lot of those reactionary elements in our society that had kept us down for generations, that things were about to change. That is one of the reasons why a Donald Trump became president, and why you have neo-Nazis and fascists in the mainstream now. I find it interesting that in February 2015, there was a conference that was being held by Richard Spencer's group, the National Policy Institute. And we were there. My organization, One People's Project, was there. And what we did was we basically just sat a video camera up just to videotape anybody that was coming out. This is where doxing comes in. We basically just took pictures of everybody that was just coming out and really video. And there was a conversation with one guy who still hasn't been identified, and a Black woman who called herself Melba. And it was rather low. We couldn't hear everything that was going on. But the thing that really got him animated and loud, the guy, was the idea that, hey, maybe we can get Trump in there. And if Trump was president, we could just change everything. And the scary thing about this was February 2015. Trump didn't announce until June. So we are dealing with people who are putting together I think what the best way to say it is that this is far bigger than anything, far bigger than Trump. This is not even about Trump in many respects. This is something that they have been trying to do for well over 20 or 30 years. But after the election of Barack Obama, they feel like they have to. When Trump was basically their Hail Mary. And when Trump lost and got sent packing to Florida, that was when they realized the free ride was over. And that's why we had January 6th. It's amazing how we have these two bookends. We started the Trump started the Trump presidency with Charlottesville, and we ended it with January 6th. And there's an article, if anybody subscribes or reads the Progressive magazine, there's going to be an article about me and One People's Project, where it starts off with a quote of mine, something that I've been telling people for the past couple of weeks since January 6th. It's like, Charlottesville really was supposed to be that wake-up call. Charlottesville was, for those who have been dealing with this issue, these concerns, Antifa or just straight up civil rights workers, Charlottesville was our I told you so. But January 6th was, why aren't you listening? Because by January 6th, we should have known that how dangerous this element is, is. And not only that, but we also know from Charlottesville that we have the tools to fight it. Right now, we're dealing with the issue of over 47 states, many of them blue, that are trying to circumvent the right to vote with their voter suppression laws. And I hope Congress, I hope the federal government does indeed step up and make sure that our voting rights are indeed protected. But it should not be at a precarious point. We are a country, we are a society that says we will not threaten such things. We will not threaten a person's right to vote. And if we do have people that are threatening that right to vote, we marginalize them and we keep on going on as a people. Something's changed if we have this problem where we cannot stop that from happening. So I hope we can stop that from happening. I mean, it still remains to be seen what will happen in the next couple of weeks. But to be honest with you, we should not leave it up to chance. We should just simply make sure that our elected leaders, our elected officials know that we will not tolerate anything less than a total, and I do mean total, abolishment of any laws that try to circumvent the rights to vote. And simply because, as the Republicans keep saying, if people have the right to vote, if voting access if people have more access to voting, people are capable of voting more, then they will lose. I mean, one would think that the Republicans would take that to heart and start doing more outreach within the communities to show whether or not they are indeed a party that we want to vote for. But no, they decided to go to voter suppression instead. And that speaks to the concerns that we have in this country today. When we look at the current concerns about anti-Asian violence, it's nothing new. I mean, we can go back 100 years and talk about the laws, the anti-immigration laws that were directed towards them, especially the Chinese at that time, courtesy of President Arthur. But we can also, a lot of us forgot about all the attacks the Asian community were getting via the anger towards the Japanese for basically bringing their auto industry to America. Consumers were buying Japanese cars, and Japan was basically a corporate partner here in the United States. But that was one of the biggest "we took your jobs" moments for a lot of people here, especially in Detroit, where they felt that no one was buying American cars anymore, and the auto industry went belly up. A lot of people got laid off, and they blamed the Japanese, and they attacked the Japanese, and everything was basically anti-Asian, not just Japanese hate, but anti-Asian hate. And the perfect example of that was something that happened on let me see, let me see if I can find it here. What happened was the murder of Vincent Chin. Vincent Chin was a Chinese American draftsman. He was beaten to death by two white men. Both used to work at Chrysler. Well, one worked at Chrysler, and the other one was his stepson, and he was laid off. They were at a strip club on June 23rd, 1982. Chin was there with a bachelor party. There was some words that were exchanged, particularly one of the guys told him, quote, and I'm looking for the quote here. It says, they say, it's because of you little MFers that we are out of work. Remember, Chin was Chinese. They beat him to death in a strip club. That made the news. That was all over the place. Needless to say, both the two shop workers were arrested and charged with murder. But in the end, they ended up getting convicted of manslaughter and only served probation. When federal charges, they were convicted. Let me take that back. They were charged with federal hate crime, federal civil rights violations. Evans, who is the shop worker, who the one that was still working, I believe he was convicted, but his stepson was not. And eventually his conviction was overturned via a retrial. So the only thing, he's 81 years old right now, and the only thing that the only solace that the Chin family has is the fact that they was able to win a civil verdict against the two gentlemen. But the fact remains that they were never seriously punished for the hate crime that they committed. But that is something that goes back to 1982. So this has been something that's been going on for a very long time. Now, what we see now when it comes to anti-Asian hate is just off the charts, and it is due to, once again, the conservatives in this country targeting the Asian community, blaming them for the pandemic, courtesy of their president at the time. And we see people getting hurt, we see people getting killed, and we see folks from all walks of life attacking the Asian community, and there is no excuse for it. As a matter of fact, that is precisely the reason why people are coming out and saying we need to stop this nonsense. I mean, one of the people that was being called out for her attacks on two individuals of Asian descent, they were Korean. She started calling them communist Chinese, was Senator Pat Moynihan's daughter. So this is one of the reasons why everybody is coming out in response to all of this. I do hear from time to time folks in my community or folks from other communities saying, why aren't we're talking all day long about Asian anti-Asian hate, but we need to talk about the attacks that are going on against the Black community, and why is that being ignored? And I'm just going to simply say, whenever I hear that, whenever I fight anti-Asian hate, I fight racism, I fight anti-Semitism, the xenophobia, anti-Islamophobia. This is not a competition. If you want to see an end to all of this, you need to start working together and put an end to all of this, because that's what scares them the most. Consider this. We're fighting. We have victims in communities from all of our communities. Our marginalized communities have been attacked, however, by the same people, by name. I mean, if you were to listen if you were to listen to all the rhetoric against the Asian community, the Black communities, Hispanic communities, anti-Muslim, the Muslim communities, what have you, you'll see it's the same voices. You see, it's the same conservative voices, whether you're talking about Ted Cruz or Steve King, who is no longer in Congress, or Marjorie Taylor Greene, or what's his name, Matt Gaetz. And just somebody also ran the folks, the activists out there who we're going to talk about right now, because they are going to be the biggest problem that we have. Because they're the ones, as I pointed out with Donald Trump, with the ascension of Donald Trump, they're the ones that are basically pushing that needle forward. So who are they? Who was it that was there on January 6th? Let me tell you. We was watching them for 4 years. Even before Charlottesville, we were watching them. And they made it clear what they were standing for. They said they were fed up with all the changes in this country. They were fed up with being forgotten. Never mind the fact that they were supposed to be forgotten with these kinds of ideals. We were progressing, we are evolving, we're moving on, and we're allowing everyone to contribute to today's society. We're respecting each other and the choices that they make in life, so long as they're not detrimental to us. They did not like that. So here we have groups. We started off with people like Richard Spencer out there. And Richard Spencer and his group, the National Policy Institute, were thrust into the forefront. But let me forefront over the for that first year of Donald Trump as the white supremacist that everybody needed to focus on. And he was a very interesting character because because he was somebody that basically could be on C-SPAN or somebody that can be on World News Tonight. He was very polished, still is, but still relatively polished. And that's not by accident. One of the things I point out is that we were going after Richard Spencer in 2006, 2007. People first heard of him just in 2016. Most people first heard of him in 2016. He was part of a larger group of people that called themselves paleo-conservatives. And they were what we used to call suit and tie Nazis. They were the ones that were bringing white supremacist ideas into the Beltway, into academia, particularly courtesy of their conservative student activists that they cultivate in their various groups like the Leadership Institute or Turning Point USA or Young Americans for Freedom or the Young Americans Foundation. All these groups were built to raise up conservative activists on college campuses. One of those characters is a guy by the name of James O'Keefe who went to Rutgers University and peddled that kind of nonsense. And he went on to be a prominent conservative activist, courtesy of his group Project Veritas. And he's from here in New Jersey, Brunswick, New Jersey. And it was interesting because my organization caught him at a event called Race and Conservatism that was put together by the Robert A. Taft Club. Robert A. Taft Club was another group founded by Richard Spencer. And this was one of those groups that was within the Beltway, bringing these elements, these hate elements, basically to the congressional door. I mean, when you consider that Richard Spencer started off as someone who was fundraising more or less for Ron Paul, and you can still find videos of him doing so on C-SPAN, on YouTube. You get an idea of how exactly we came to this point. I mean, something to bear in mind is the fact that, and I make this point a lot too. He went to Duke University as an undergrad, and because we were already following, because we recognized Richard Spencer for who he was, He could not go but so far because we were exposing him. We weren't paying attention to his colleague at Duke University named Stephen Miller, his friend. So Richard Spencer is yelling and screaming through a megaphone. Stephen Miller is a presidential advisor putting kids in cages and laughing about it. So what basically is happening now is that we're paying closer attention to who's trying to run the country, especially after January 6th. What we saw in 2016 was just a precursor to what we saw on January 6th. And that might be a precursor to what we see in the future. Because when you talk about 2016, that was where I saw the Proud Boys first time. Matter of fact, I was there the first time they showed up. They showed up at a so-called art show where conservative pundits and activists will make these corny art just basically to own the lid, so to speak. And it was run by, the conservative propagandist Milo Yiannopoulos. James O'Keefe was there once again. And they were providing security. So that's how I first met them. That's on YouTube as well. I have videotape of them attacking somebody that was protesting the event. They were not as, they started to morph into more of a street thug group that would attack Antifa and anybody that they considered to be the enemy. Portland, Oregon, as we saw for the next 4 years, would just fight them regularly, like one rally every month. They would be fighting them. And they were the ones that everyone's looking at as one of the groups that were leading the charge on January 6th. It's kind of like, finally, we are seeing something happen to the Proud Boys. We figured that would happen anyway, because they were basically, when you have them being mentioned in presidential debates, you pretty much know that when the person mentioning them in the adverse becomes president, something's going to happen to them. And they pretty much just made it easier for us with January 6th. And now their leadership is in jail. Their leadership is charged for what has been going on over the past 4 years, let alone 6. And there's more coming. We talk about the Oath Keepers. And the Oath Keepers are supposed to be retired military or retired law enforcement, some active, whose idea of keeping their oath, they say that they're supposed to be keeping their oath to defend the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But in doing so, they have become the enemy, because they look at us, people who they are diametrically opposed to politically, as being the enemy that they need to fight. So basically, the Oath Keepers are fighting other Americans. And yes, you have members of the Oath Keepers that have called for civil war. So that's why you see them being zeroed in on as instigators in the January 6th insurrection. But there was another group that was there as well. There was a group, they called themselves the Groyper Movement. Now, the Groyper Movement is a rather interesting group. Like the Proud Boys, they are multiracial, but still maintain white supremacy. Very much so. In fact, it's led by a Hispanic man out of Chicago named Nick Fuentes. And he has a podcast called America First, the America First podcast. He's basically a vlogger that you'll see on YouTube. And I believe they probably would have taken his YouTube, I think, has taken his channel down since then. But he has something called the Groper Army. If you see in the insurrection videos or in other videos, a blue flag with the letters AF within a circle, that's his group. That's the Groyper Movement. That's the America First crowd. Now, Fuentes has been known for denying the Holocaust, and he has And he has been zeroing in on on that particular theme quite a bit. And it's one, and despite that, he had enjoyed some mainstream success until people started paying attention to him more. And then they said, no, we got to stay away from him. But one person in the mainstream that has enjoyed mainstream success for a very long time did not. And her name is Michelle Malkin. Now, One People's Project is, when we would write our articles about Michelle Malkin, we would call her the world's darkest white supremacist. We have been doing that for 20 years. She's a dark-skinned Filipino, married to a Jewish man with 2 biracial children, who has contributed articles to a white nationalist website called VDare and has rallied against diversity. And now she has stepped up to defend the anti-Semitism of the so-called groper movement. And in particular, Nick Fuentes raises money for them and is considered, and they call her this, mommy. This is how weird this whole thing has become. When you have to, and this is, when you are a white supremacist and you have to basically big up people of color, and people of color are bigging up you, that means you know the game has changed. It might actually be a compliment to all the work we've done over the past 50, 60 years too. Because if we have gotten to the point now where white supremacists do not think that they can get ahead unless they have our say so, then we're on the right track. And it pretty much tells, I said this last night in another webinar, I said that is an indication that they know that you're right. If you have been put, if they have to push that kind of narrative. How can you say I'm racist when I have a black friend or I have an Asian wife or something like that? I could say you're a white supremacist because you're holding on to white supremacist themes. You are about white supremacist themes. You are about neo-fascist themes. Whatever, just because you are of color, just because you are with people of color, just means that the dynamic has changed. You are still maintaining the things that have caused the oppression in this country, and you will be treated as such. That's just the rule, and they can never seem to understand that. So, yeah, so the curious thing about the Groyper movement and all that, they pretty much stay away from the anti-fascists that will routinely confront them. They do not look for confrontation with us, unlike other hate groups that are out there. They look for confrontation with other conservatives. They attacked Turning Point USA, they attacked Ben Shapiro. They held a conference for the second year in a row to parallel CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference that is held year after year in Washington, D.C. The thing about it is that they are not allowed in CPAC. So they're at war with CPAC. So they held a conference when CPAC had their thing in Orlando, Florida. They had a parallel conference where you had people of color at the podium, like Michelle Malkin, like a media personality named John Miller, like Fuentes, and lest we forget how much pull they have within the elected official rank, current U.S. Representative Paul Gosar. He spoke at their white nationalist conference at the same time he was speaking at CPAC. And this is a guy who, when he was running a couple of years back, his own family had produced commercials for his opponent, his own brothers and sisters. And now when you see him going to conferences like this, you can see why. Now, here's the interesting thing about that. Nick Fuentes, Jaden McNeil, who is a friend of his and who was a part of all of this, as well as a guy by the name of Vincent James Fox of Red Elephants. That's the name of his organization. They were all there on January 6th. Some people from the American First crowd went into the Capitol. It has not been determined if Nick Fuentes was amongst them. There is lots of video of them there. So they are as much as a part of what we saw on January 6th as anyone else, even if they did not go in. So when you are looking at the people who are, when you look at the videos from January 6th, don't just look for the folks that were inside the Capitol. Look for the folks that were outside, because they are the ones that are probably going to be around long enough to do some serious damage if we don't keep them in check. That's one of the reasons why I bring up Richard Spencer and versus Paul Miller, because if we had kept an eye on Paul Miller just as much as we kept an eye on Richard Spencer, we probably would have never, no, I'm sorry, Paul Miller, that's another name. I meant to say Stephen Miller. We would have been in a better situation. Paul Miller, incidentally, is somebody from here in New Brunswick who was a member of another group called the Boogaloo Movement. I actually said his name by accident, but since I brought it up, I do have to bring this up. The Boogaloo Movement is a group now to hear Paul Miller say it. The Boogaloo, as in Civil War II, Electric Boogaloo. They're trying to be funny. They say that the Boogaloo is the second Civil War. And it will happen when, due to demographic shifts in this country, the right does not feel that it can no longer win national elections. This is someone, Paul Miller calls himself Gypsy Crusader online, often dresses himself up as the Joker and harasses random people with racist things. When I first came across him, it was actually on the day that George Floyd died, because he was at an anti-mask rally in Point Pleasant, where he was promoting the Boogaloo, where he was saying that he was reporting on that rally there. And when everything started happening with George Floyd, he shifted to that. But then he also became more and more anti-Semitic and more racist, and definitely started promoting Nazism. Now, beforehand, he wasn't much better. He was, the Proud Boys had gotten themselves involved in a fight back in 2018 outside an event where Gavin McInnes, the founder of the Proud Boys, was having a speaking engagement, and there was a brawl that the Proud Boys had with anti-fascists. They ended up going to jail. But Paul Miller was a part of that, and he never did go to jail. This is somebody, by the way, that has called for the assassination of Ilhan Omar, called for Bill Gates to be murdered, has cheered on the shootings, the mass shooting in New Zealand by Brendan Tarrant at a mosque. Currently, he's in jail now. Paul Miller is in jail now. He was picked up a couple of weeks ago. He moved to Florida, and he has been arrested because he was a convicted felon. He was selling drugs here in New Brunswick, and it was a weapons possession charge. He was not allowed to have any weapons, so marshals came in, the feds came in and took him away. They don't see him coming out anytime soon. I think that there's a lot more going on with him that people are concerned about. So I want to just break it down, because I know a lot of people have questions. I see them coming up quite a bit, but I basically just want to say that the important thing to remember, and I think the general theme of everything that I'm saying right now, is that we have the tools to push it back. We've used them before. We have to recognize what those tools are. And the first tools that we must use is information. We need to know who it is that we are dealing with. We need to know, and we need to know how it is to combat them, recognize them for who they are, and most importantly, don't ignore them. Put a big old spotlight on them, even if you think it means it's giving them attention. Give them the attention that they don't want, because when you give them attention, they get some adverse attention as things go along. Paul Miller is a perfect example of that. The Proud Boys are a perfect example of that. So long as you are maintaining a vigilance against them, they lost. They lost. So once again, I want to thank everybody for having me here today to talk about all these things, and I'm open to questions.
All right, Daryle, we have some questions for you. The first one's from Valerie. She's got a comment and then a question. She said the many layers of entrenched racism, economic insecurity and self-protection, and persistent segregation all contribute to this never-ending cycle. It's the worst of our animal instincts. Do you think dialogue is even possible to overcome such behavior and instincts?
It's a barometer. It's a barometer. There is room for dialogue. There's always room for dialogue. As a matter of fact, there's video of me from a few years ago having dialogue with the Proud Boys during a rally. It's all depends on what how the situation presents itself. We can always talk, we can always debate, we can always argue, we can always come to a meeting in the minds. I will tell you, however, that I pretty much have a zero tolerance policy for fascism. So the only thing that we are going to talk about is how you're going to stop. Really. In fact, one of the things to bear in mind when people talk about myself and they talk about Brian Widener and how I help people get out from time to time, I always have to tell people when we were promoting the movie Skin, I had to remind people that you can't talk to everybody. And I'm not going to be in the business of chasing people around talking about, hey, there's a better way. Because if you want to be a fascist, then I have to treat you like one. If you're ready to get out, I'm my father's son. I'm not going to chase you around. I mean, my father was a drug counselor. And basically, his thing wasn't going to chase people around to try to get them to not do drugs. He'll keep on putting the idea in their head that maybe you should stop. But if you want to continue to do drugs, we'll let you kill yourself while I'll go protect myself and help the people that do want to get off drugs. That's the same rule here. If you want to be a fascist, you go do you. But you really want to stay away from us as a community. And if you do want to get out, let's talk. And that's what has happened. That's how I was able to get people out, because it was at that point where they said, okay, it's really time for me to grow up, basically. And as I said, that was the premise of the movie Skin. So yeah, there is room to talk. There is room to talk, but you gotta maintain the fact that there is no agreeing to disagree on this. Yes, you can agree to disagree in the case of some conservatives. Conservatives are not 100% wrong, and we're not 100% right. But when it comes to this, oh yeah, we're 100% right. And we have to maintain that one. We have to keep it 100 in this case. So have the dialogue until you can't no more. Then you got to put up your dues.
All right.
Yeah,
Another one?
Yeah, I had a question. I had a question for Mr. Jenkins. What about the lone wolf? I've seen many allegedly left groups host debates with Turning Point. And then we have a lot of them, like the guy that was the Coast Guard, he had a cache of weapons that was just prosecuted. Many of them are very affable, polite, and self-effacing. So we have a lot of these fascists who do not present themselves necessarily in a bellicose way. They may be your next door neighbor. Many people were shocked when they find that they have fascists living next door to them. So how do we determine this? Because many of them are embedded in the military, within the police, and many of them are lone wolf. And on campus, DSA and other groups, radical groups, are debating, hosting debates with Turning Point. Is that wise? And could you respond to the other observations, Mr. Jenkins?
Yeah, thank you for being here, Mark. Buck's a friend of mine, and I'm really glad you're here today, man. Mm-hmm. I would say that, can we debate them? You know what? I really don't like the idea of debating. Debating is, I mean, if you want to have a discussion, as I said before, to talk about how they're getting out or whatever, yeah, I would say go that route. Debating is basically just putting on a show, really. You'll sit there and try to beat the other guy. You know, I'm not here for a show. I'm here for results. So no, I'm not going on the stage with Turning Point USA. I mean, you'll see me on Jesse Lee Peterson, and that was really just practice. I mean, I was on Jesse Lee Peterson's show a couple of years ago. He's a Black conservative that really is beyond the pale to underscore fact. But here's what I would say. Here's what I would say about all of that, about the lone wolf, however. It is a tactic.
But I'm talking about what I mean by is, as you know, many of them got busted up in Maryland.
Right. I was about to get to that.
But what I'm saying is the demeanor. Even the dude that got busted out there on the West Coast that was in the Boogaloo Boy, the demeanor will let you, many people do not understand that they may necessarily have a docile veneer or veneer that is passive on the surface, and oftentimes they're able to move around in particular areas. Because
here's something that's important about that. First of all, I remember a reporter asking me, what is the most dangerous Nazi you come across? And I always say the ones you don't know. The ones you don't know, because they can do that, per what Mark said. And in the case of the Boogaloo Boys, they present a serious problem because they are trying to ingratiate themselves with the Black Lives Matter movement, and the people who are being receptive to that are what has been called online the dirtbag left. Jimmy Dore got in trouble for this. Jimmy Dore is a commentator, a comedian that you see on YouTube all the time. And he heard that there was some Boogaloo guy that was supporting Black Lives Matter. So we brought him on the show to interview him and basically just, talk about how there should be more uniting between the two sides. And as I keep pointing out, there's no uniting with that particular side. They want a civil war that will result in the deaths of their enemies, which still include us, which includes even those Black Lives Matter activists that they are saying that they're supporting, So it does mean that we have to be very vigilant when it comes to keeping an eye on who is within our ranks, who is out there, who is trying to do something. In regards to some of the characters that are out there as lone wolves, it's a tactic that goes back 30 years so that no one group can be particularly implicated in the long run if something goes down. And this is one of the reasons why I will say you can go to One People's Project and IDAVOX, which is our news line, or you can go to Southern Poverty Law Center. I will say also ADL has information, Political Research Associates. Just go online and keep an eye out on who is who and what is what. When you start hearing about certain individuals that may be a concern in your community, start speaking out about it. I mean, one of the things that's really important is that a lot of the people that One People's Project have gone after have been police officers, have been doctors, have been, attorneys, politicians, academics. They're teaching our kids. And I mean, one guy I know out of the Bronx who was known, he was on the Queens County School Board trying to get Martin Luther King books taken out. Queens School Board, I should say.
Yeah, I have one last question. I'll end it at that. I'll make it short. Back in the days of Timothy McVeigh and before that, and they've been accused, federal law enforcement, that they have been indifferent or apathetic, as opposed to dealing with black street gangs, Latino gangs, that the white militias and other groups coming out of the ilk of Timothy McVeigh have used, attacked federal law enforcement. Why do you think federal law enforcement has been so indifferent for the last 30 years when there's a known fact, and even in their own records, that they have been attacked with high-powered weapons?
Look at all the police officers that were arrested because of January 6th, and there's your answer. One of the most important things that I heard in some of those videos when the insurrectionists were clashing with the police, the Capitol Police, is that the insurrectionists were calling those police oath breakers. What oath are they thinking of? There is a kind of like unmentioned I guess, camaraderie. I know.
What does that
between
have
the
to do with
two, yeah.
Timothy McVeigh and his ilk?
Timothy
could you-
McVeigh and his ilk come out of the military.
Okay,
Timothy
how,
McVeigh, as far as he's concerned, is an oath keeper. And Timothy McVeigh was tied in with a lot of people who were involved in not just white supremacy, but white supremacist communities. So Timothy McVeigh, when you think about how he was allowed to go back and forth, the militia really got started around the time that Timothy McVeigh did what he did in Oklahoma City. One of the things that I will point out, where's this book? People are familiar with this. And the Oklahoma City bombing was modeled after something that happened in this book, in the Turner Diaries. And one of the things I remember talking to somebody not too long ago, it was authored by, Turner Diaries was written by William Peach, the founder of the National Alliance. And that was one of the most prolific white supremacist groups for a very long time in the United States. And really what you are seeing now is what William Pierce had been trying to do for 50 years. You're talking about somebody that was coming up through George Lincoln Rockwell's neo-Nazi group back in the 60s. And he passed away in 2002. But what he wanted to do, he wanted to have your street thugs, he wanted to have your people in Congress or in power, and he wanted to have your philosophers and all of that. Everything that William Pierce wanted to do, you see coming into fruition now. That should scare everybody enough to take action.
Okay, if I could just interject for a moment. Mark Jefferson, you've asked some really, really, very good questions, and I appreciate your questions. But so that everybody can have enough time to have their question answered, we're asking that people put the question in the chat so that Marsha can read them. And so going forward, we appreciate you doing that. Thank you.
So we actually have a question from Barbara. What do you think is the next move for the white supremacists? They have support of nearly 50% of the nation. They have supporters in the House, the Senate, state, and local elected. What can we expect from them, and how should we be prepared to respond?
Well, after January 6th, they pretty much started laying low. But as we saw from Charlottesville, they're not going to lay low for long. They're going to do some things that will, they're going to rebrand, just like they did in Charlottesville. The Proud Boys, we're not going to hear them. We're not going to hear much from them anymore, but we're going to see something that comes up. That's one of the reasons why I brought up the Groyper movement, because they are being talked about a little bit, but not enough. And you're going to start seeing people coming out of that group because we don't know everybody that's in the Groyper movement. So something's going to come out. I would say one of the reasons why I go to CPAC all the time to try to find out exactly what is going on. That's basically my hunting grounds. And you do see them more or less, you see them there. And I think the most important thing that they are doing right now, I think when you want to see what white supremacists are doing right now, is that their efforts are geared towards, as we've seen, trying to protect the police, because those are their real shock troops, trying to marginalize our votes, of course, and just basically trying to find something that will rally everybody around their flag in the name of quote unquote freedom. And that's where the whole anti-mask activism comes from. That is what they're going to use what Biden did today in regards to the gun laws. They're going to use that at some point. I would just simply say, just keep an eye on what all of our conservatives in this country are doing, because they pretty much latched on to the worst of the worst over the past 4 years, and they're not letting go. So what's going to happen to Lauren Boebert? What's going to happen to Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these characters that really serve no purpose for the country as much as they do for their base, for their crowd? So those, I say, if you really want to know how the white supremacists are going to be doing things, names like that are ones you're going to have to follow. And there are some names out there on local levels that are concerned too. There was an anti-Muslim activist by the name of Laurie Cardoza Moore out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. She just got put onto a school board, onto a state board that decides what textbooks children in Tennessee are going to use. This is a woman that when the mosque was going to be built around the World Trade Center area, she gave a speech where she tried to suggest that Muslims didn't even serve in the Revolutionary War. They did. They did. So and she's going to she's going to instruct everybody to what kind of t-shirt, what kind of textbooks we're going to our children are going to study from. These small things can become very big as we go along. So, just keep an eye out on that. They'll reveal themselves as we go along, especially if we're paying attention.
I've got a question from Elizabeth. I think it's a really important one. She said, for the average Maplewood mom, what do we do? You mentioned information. What's a good source of information? And what are additional tools at our disposal?
It's funny. I mean, I would always say the best information will be the source, the conservatives in this country. But if you want to get a complete understanding as to what's going on out there, One People's Project, we're a source. What we do is we research and report on hate groups and individuals, people who engage in hate politics. We have a newsline called IDAVOX. That is idavox.com. One People's Project is onepeoplesproject.com. But there's also groups like Unicorn Riot. There's a lot of doxers out there that also reveal what kind of connections we have out there. There's a new group coming up called the Platform Hate. There's Political Research Association. And as I said before, the SBOC and the ADL also are good resources. You know how you have a good source? When you hear the conservatives complain about a certain person, that's the person to gravitate to. So when you hear them complaining about Antifa, guess what? There's a reason for that. It's not because we're burning things down in the streets. It's because we're burning things down in the corporate halls and in our educational halls, and where we are in places they don't want us to be, because we can tell everybody about them effectively. So I would definitely say gravitate towards people like myself and groups that I've mentioned, and you will find that information. If you find something that's shady, shoot it our way, and we might be able to help you out trying to figure out who they are.
Daryle, I've got a question. Do you think that locking up the insurrectionists from January 6th will put a damper on the white nationalist pro-Trump fascist movement?
Well, we have to do it. I mean, general principle says that, but have to do it. But will it put a damper on it? Yeah, it will. It will, but not much of one. The only thing that's going to put a damper on it is our vigilance outside of the outside of of criminal prosecution. We have to make sure that we as a society making clear that this is not the direction we're going in. As long as those demographics are shifting in areas in our community and positions of power and what have you, it's going to be harder and harder for those groups to maintain a foundation, maintain a foothold. Because as soon as they step up, we will be in the position to take them down. So just keep on promoting those shifts, keep on promoting progressive people into the ranks, into society's ranks, just so that we can make sure that when the time comes, we know how to fight it. And that's the thing. We do know how to fight it. We showed that we know how to fight it after Charlottesville. We basically grabbed the bull by the horns when the police stood and did nothing. And we took care of things ourselves. When we talk about people getting arrested, people going to jail behind Charlottesville, a lot of them, it wasn't due to any of the investigations really of the police have put forward. It was due to people on Twitter saying, there's that guy, there's that guy, there's that guy. That was us saying these are those people, and we insist that they are prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That was us, the community, using law enforcement. And we see it again on January 6th. all we did was just sit there and let them do what they wanted to do. And we just grabbed all the video and said, there's that guy, there's that guy, there's that guy. Now, I will tell you this, January 6th did not have to happen either. I think that we, and yes, I was in Charlottesville. I had to point that out. Unfortunately, I wasn't there on January 6th. And it's probably a good thing I wasn't in January 6th, because I would have gone into that Capitol just to videotape everything going on. And I would have gotten in trouble. So, but I will tell you something, January 6th didn't have to happen. That line where I said earlier, don't ignore them. When they was holding rallies in November, December, people were telling us Trump won, Trump lost, it's over, we can ignore these people now. And that was a big mistake, because what happened? The Proud Boys started stabbing people and they attacked the Black Lives Matter Plaza mural, tearing down the pictures of Black men and women and children that were killed by the police. And a lot of Black men and women that were there trying to protect that mural were saying, where are our white allies? What happened? We needed you now. And the same rule applied when they once again said, don't come out, let them blow off their steam. We won, they lost, it's over. And they attacked churches. Only this time Antifa was out there. When they started stabbing people, we fought back. Only thing is they attacked the churches and they burned their Black Lives Matter banners that they taken down from those churches. And we got even more furious. But then January 6th happened and we heard it all again. And this time everybody stayed home, and look what happened. Now I'm gonna tell you something. That time when I was that I said I had a little conversation with the Proud Boys during a rally, that was July 6, 2019 on Freedom Plaza. Unlike November, December, and January, the rally stayed at Freedom Plaza. They didn't go anywhere because there was opposition. You got to be out there. You got to make sure, and however you are out there, whether it is in the streets protesting them as they come out, or if you're vigilant to make sure that they are not your police, not your teachers, not your librarians, anything. If you're going to be, you got to be that vigilant. You just got to make sure that they have no quarter anywhere in today's society.
All right, I've got one last question for you. You've addressed it to some degree, talking about dialogue, but Rachel asks, how do you think we can get through to people in marginalized groups who engage in hate to others, like a Jewish person who's racist to an Asian, or an Asian person who's racist to Black people, or a Black person who's homophobic? Or there are so many of us who want to work together, but those few people from marginalized groups who also engage in hate get a lot of attention and have too much influence.
Well, we're going to have to deal with it now, because as I noted, a lot of the hate groups that we're dealing with today are multiracial. It's new. It's not new, really. I mean, that is really important. And I also brought it up that when you talk about the attacks on the Asian community, that's been a multiracial thing too. And I would just simply say that, as I said earlier, it's not a competition. I have to stress that. Now, when it comes to anti-Semitism, there is actually a concern about that, so much so that I have a friend of mine that on May 4th, he is going to have a webinar about that, about progressives and their anti-Semitism, because one of the things that I've always had a problem with, you saw it, I've been seeing it ever since the anti-war movements of 20 years ago, when everything started with the whole thing after September 11th, you started seeing leftists connecting themselves with straight up neo-Nazis because they want to oppose what's going on in the Middle East, and they say that they're fighting Zionists when they're fighting everybody that's Jewish. And my attitude has always been, the moment I start hearing people talking about what Jews run, I leave the room. You're done. I'm through with you. You are that problem. You have immediately became that problem. So so that's going to be talked about on May 4th. I can give people information about that. Unfortunately, I closed out my Outlook, so I cannot find the information for you right now, but I'll make sure that Marsha, that you and Barbara will get that information via email. So if people want to participate in that webinar, it'd be great.
All right. Daryle, thank you so much. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, we want to be having you back every year. You are phenomenal, just a font of information, and I'm so glad that you have agreed to come.
And remember, I am in Jersey, and so if anybody needs me to come out physically, I'll be more than happy to.
You know, we did, like we were saying earlier, we did have those, what's it, European, what's the name of that group?
European American, oh boy, New Jersey European Heritage Association.
Heritage group that posted signs here in Maplewood and South Orange.
Right,
know,
now they were a small group. They were a small
yeah.
group. It's run by a guy named Dandy Ambley. But they're a small group, but it's also a testament to us, the fact that the only way you see them is via stickers on various places. Or if you're protesting against ICE and you're a Jewish organization, they decide to come out and cause you grief.
Really?
As we have seen, as we saw last year. That was them.
Yes, excellent. Thank you so much. It's very important information, particularly about what to look out for and what to observe. We need
Thank
you
you
here in Orange to stand
For being here.
I'll be more than happy to come to Orange.
Friend Manny.
Yeah, we got a little bit of homophobia going on.
We need you.
Yeah.
I'm there. Just let me know when.
Thank you for
Let
your
me know when.
strength. Thank you for your strength and your power and your voice and your presence. It makes a huge difference, and we see you and we thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Daryle, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care, y'all.
Bye-bye.
And it's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Barbara for inviting me to be part of this monumental celebration. And I hope that we will have a good time discussing art. All right. It's also one thing that I want to add is that I was very happy when Barbara sent me the invite. The title of the show, I realized that she had touched something that is really dear to me, which is the relevancy of my work. And that's one thing I really appreciate it. And thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. Oh, and I forgot to say, Mark is a local artist. He lives in Maplewood. So we're supporting local artists here.
And one more thing I want to say about my work. It's like before we dive into the artwork, let me give you a little insight into how my creative process, insight into my creative process. First of all, I always start with an idea, all right, based on current or historical events. I draw, I sketch, I collect pictures, magazines from all over, and then put them together as if I were making a collage. All right, and then when I put everything on canvas, this is when I start adding other elements such as color, shape, composition. That's when I get into these elements. And do I always follow the script or the premise that I start with? No, no. Most of the time I deviate. I let the work take its course. And when the work start talking to me, it's telling me to stop. It's enough. That's when I stop. And lately, one thing that I stopped doing is signing my work. What I do, I do sign, but I don't sign it up front. I sign it in the back because when I observe people looking at artwork, one thing that they always do, they always go to look for the artist's name. And I find that a little bit distracting in my view. I find it distracting. I say, let let the people deal with the work, and then my name is comes afterward. I sign my work in the back. Even if you go to a gallery, you see my work in the show, you'll say, "Oh, Mark, you don't sign your work." Yes, I do sign my work, but I sign it in the back. All right. Thank you, Barbara.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and we will get into, just ignore this. Let's see, share screen. Sorry, let's do a slideshow. Slideshow. Sorry, I'm admitting people and trying to get the slideshow going at the same time. Okay, so I probably should have had this up all along. The socially relevant art of Mark A. Gaston. So this is the first work of art, and we're going to invite people. And I guess the best way to do this, since now I can't see people, is to maybe put in the chat, raise your hand in the chat so that I can see if people want to share the thoughts and ideas that come to mind when you see this picture. I just need to find the chat. Where'd it go? Does anybody want to start? What comes to mind when you see this picture? It's a little abstract, and that's the beauty of it.
Barbara, can I add something? Can I add something quick?
Sure.
There is the great thing about art is that there is no right or wrong interpretation. All right,
Exactly.
it's all up to you. It's all up to it's how you feel about the work and everything. I mean, whatever you say, whatever you feel, whatever you think, it's good. We're just sharing thoughts. That's all.
Okay, I see Pierre.
Yes.
Raised.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. For me, that piece, I guess the first that strikes me actually is the book. Like the book with that kind of weight inside it, like something is like tied. Usually, there are not that many pieces of art that I see painting, or there's actually a picture of a book. The book is, so the symbolic part to me that strikes me is that is how to me like knowledge and sometimes propaganda, like that books kind of actually sometimes is part of oppressing people. Yeah, so that's what actually that evoke in me when I see that picture of intellectual work that I really use instead of actually to enlighten people, but really to confuse and to subjugate people.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I don't have the capability of raising my hands, but just to follow up, I did see there's a biblical context as well. You can see within the eye, observing the cross, and maybe the book could be symbolic for a Bible as well. And also the shoe definitely stands out to me. I don't really get the content 100%, but definitely sticks out to me as well.
There's so many things seem to be going on in this picture. Thank you. Your name for some reason didn't change. It said Mark Gaston.
Oh yeah, that's my dad. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Does anybody else have something to share? Or you can just start talking.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, Leon.
Yes, just one question here. Under the cross, is that a bullet? I see the cross, I see the grass. I'm trying to make out what that is. I can't tell if that's an ape. That's a
drum.
Okay. There we go. All right.
What is that? A drum or a bullet?
That's a drum.
A drum. That's what I thought it was. Okay. It's small.
Thank you.
It's not. I made it big. Now I can't make it small. Wait, let me see what's going on here. Maybe I'll go back up. Sorry about that, guys. I will know not to do that again. Any other thoughts? I think that, yeah, this is very interesting. So you have the drum and juxtaposed with the cross. Does that conjure any views? Yes, Delvin, Renault, you can just go ahead and speak.
Hi. I'm looking at the cross and where it's placed over the woman's eye, and I think it shows how in some cases religion can blind us or skew our judgment. Yeah.
That's an interesting point. And then we have the drum. I'm sort of trying to put it back to normal size. Anybody else want to share?
This is Natasha. I had a question. I write it on the chat, but it seems you didn't see it. I wonder what is the purpose of the book. So nice work, Mark. It's very nice. I like it, but I just wonder, since the person make the comments about the book, so it's like kind of, getting to me. So I just wonder, do you have any, specific reason that you put it there?
He will explain that once after everybody has a chance to give their impressions. I see there are two people. The chat is not coming up. Okay, I have two people who had their hand raised. Go ahead. The first person.
Would that be me, Pierre?
Oh, is that you, Pierre? Did you have your hand raised again? Okay.
Yes. But yeah, I'll let the other person speak first.
Was it the other person who had their hand up? Did someone else want to speak?
I forgot to lower my hand. I was probably me.
Okay. I see. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But I just wanted to say something brief. Going back to the drum also. The other thing that actually struck me about the drum is the fact, just very close to the cross. So to me, I see the drum lying down, and I think there is a kind of some kind of symbolism there to me that it kind of speak that, yeah. So the drum is kind of it's as if the cross is looking down on the drum. So and that it is as if to me. So the cross obviously is a symbol that come to African people from Europe, and the drum is very much associated with Africa. It is as if that, yeah, it's as if there is kind of a looking down or neglecting of African roots that seem to be transpiring in the work there.
That's kind of how I interpreted it as well. Even though I put this together, I don't remember the name of the picture. So I was seeing the crosses taking away from traditional African religion. And it's almost dead, like it killed it.
Wow.
And I saw the book, actually, where it looks like there's some blood on the book.
Yes.
I kind of interpreted it as breaking the chains. Education breaks the chains of imprisonment or enslavement. But I'm not sure about the blood in the book. And like, how about these spaces? There's some chains going on up here too.
Yes.
Anybody have any thoughts about the faces looking down? One is looking down with a frown, looks like, and chains, and another one is kind of looking from looking like from the side eye. And this tree. There is so much going on in this picture. Do we all just want to find out what the meaning is? Is everybody ready for that?
Yeah.
Speak now. Okay,
Yes.
go ahead,
All right.
Mark.
Barbara, would you like to give give out the title?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, let's see. Where'd the title go? Okay, there we go.
Excuse me, Barbara. There's some people who actually would like to get in. Could you
Oh, I'm
check?
sorry. See,
have
it's
anyone
not
waiting?
showing me. I can't see that. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see that while I'm sharing the screen. Let's see if I can do that. I think I should probably make you,
Administrate?
yeah, because I can't even see that. Let me see if there's a way to do that.
Well,
I might have to get out of sharing for a moment.
okay, do what you need to do.
Okay. Okay. I need to find you now. What? Do this now. Let's see. Chat, make co-host. Okay. Okay, so you're co-hosting. You can let people in.
Okay, so what will I be looking for and what do I specifically?
Well, whatever you saw before, usually there's something that says somebody is waiting in the waiting room, like this person, Albert, which I'm going to let in. You'll see, and then you just admit when you see that.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm watching out for the signs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so this is where we were with the name of the picture, which was Chaos or Peace.
Yes, yes. And thank you for these great interpretations. And everyone was right on point. Everybody was right on point. No,
Sorry.
Yes.
I know.
Everybody was right on point. So this is a painting that I did in 1984, right? And when this is one thing, when Barbara talked about the relevancy of my work, I was in this painting, I was about to, I wanted to talk about the effects of Western religion on African people. Talk about the effect of Western religion on African people. So what do they do with religion? What does it do? It pacifies, it indoctrinates. It was used as a tool for physical and mental enslavement. All right. All of these ideas are basically what I wanted to convey in this work. And if you guys remember when I started, I said when I'm working, I gather different elements, different pictures or drawings, and paste them and make them almost look like a collage, and put them on canvas. And that's basically what you have here. We have different elements that, in reality, they don't. You would say they don't go together, but I make them work. And this is what chaos. That's what chaos. What religion does to us. Is it chaotic or is it peaceful? What is it? Is it peace? Or, all right. So that's basically what my painting was is about. And and as Matt.
Looks like Delvin has raised his hand because he has a question for you.
Yes. Go ahead, Delvin.
Just a quick question. You said you did this in 84?
84.
Yeah. Were there like any current events at the time that you drew inspiration from, or do you typically draw inspiration from things that are going on?
Good question, Delvin. What happened is that I went to a French Catholic school, and I grew up Catholic, and I'm still Catholic. And what happened was that there are certain things that we've learned as children, and later on in life, we realized that these things didn't really help us as a people. All right, it didn't help us as a people. On the contrary, they kept us down. When when we look at nothing, I mean, when you look at the Christianity in itself, what it did during slavery, it didn't help us as a people. All right, they use it to pacify us, to indoctrinate us. All right, and as a matter of fact, when you go to the next painting, you're gonna see that I did later on, and you'll see the similar, almost.
Don't give away secrets. There was the lady before, she had the question about the book.
Yes,
the book, significance of it.
To me, the book was the Bible. To me, it was the Bible.
Okay.
It was the Bible when I did it. To me, that was the Bible, and you see the chain that goes to the.
Okay, all right. Leon Morton has his hand raised with a question.
Yes, yeah. So since we're on the topic of the Bible, that's there. And I see it looks like a ball and chain, but then I see that one of the links of the chain appears broken. So I'm trying to interpret that as, has something been broken to some degree, or, the ball and chain, something kind of holding you back? So I just kind of, there's a lot of elements in here that we can kind of go over, but certainly I want to touch on the book a little bit more. Then you have the shoe there where it feels like there was something in action. The shoe came from somewhere, like there's some movement. And then you got the faces looking around too. So that we can go around, and I can go on and on, but there are a lot of things here. But if we can maybe touch on a few, maybe just the faces, the shoe, and the significance of the broken chain on the book.
Oh, I mean, for the shoe is a symbol of poverty. It's not an elegant shoe. It's not a designer shoe. You can tell that's to me it symbolizes poverty. The periphecies that all the things that we've been through, and now it's still on the wood. We're still left on the wood. Even when you look at the tree, the roots are there, but there are we have no leaves on the tree. It cuts down, and look at the guy's expression, facial expressions. He's not a happy person. Not a happy person, and the guy in the middle was. To me, that's what religion to a certain extent does to people. It puts you to sleep. That was the 84. It puts you to sleep, and it's and also you see, look at the cross, look at the drum. I'm from Haiti, and we know people tend to consider the drum as something that is not good, as opposed to Christianity, as opposed to religion. So that's why I have the drum on the floor at the bottom, and the cross blinds us, make us see things a certain way that is not sometimes good for us, but it's what I wanted to convey. That's basically what I wanted to convey in this painting. Did I do it? Did I do it? I don't know. Did I? I'm glad you guys are getting you're warming up. You're warming up in this painting. That's the first one.
Yeah, this is fascinating. We could probably spend the whole hour and a half on this alone, but let's move on.
In mind, I did it in 84. 84.
84.
Remember that date, 84.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one. This is interesting. Anybody have, oops, I'm sorry. Oh, I have to go back quick. What do you guys see in this picture? Is that a cross or an ankh?
Oh, it is a cross. You see some of the same elements.
Oh, it's because at the top it looked like it was an ankh,
That is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pierre?
Actually, my wife Judith is with me. So she want to do something.
I'm sorry, what?
No, I was saying, yeah, there are two of us here, me and my wife. So she was the one commenting.
Well, I don't know if that can be heard. So I was saying, what I can see is like there's a foot on the cross, and there's also a drum, and obviously somebody's face, maybe reflecting on all of that. That's just my thought. Maybe totally different.
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear what you pointed out the drum and the face, and what does that convey to you?
I said, it seems to me that the face is reflecting on the cross, and the foot that seemed to me that kind of like, how would I say that? The foot is kind of like pushing down on the cross and also on the head somewhat.
Mm.
So it's just my take. Maybe something totally different.
Okay. Does somebody else have their hand? Oh, you also wanted to say something here?
I just I think the same. I kind of see, to me, the very similar theme to the previous painting. That seems to me. So Mark seems to be dwelling into this space where you have the contrast between the cross and the drum is there. I see now something like that looks like almost like a papyrus, something like that. But to me, still knowledge and information that may be there to confuse more than to empower. And I guess the new thing. Yeah, there's a bottle now. So now there is alcohol and other So that to me, that's another part that actually is used. That probably is conveying a sense of trying to escape, basically. So that bottle there probably symbolizes alcohol. Kind of is doing that. The foot is puzzling. The foot is now on top of the standing, I guess, on top of the cross. It is as if somebody is actually trying to use the cross now to try to jump off of it and get somewhere. Basically that's what I see myself looking at it.
Okay. May I ask, what is this red? Is it a ball that looks like it's coming through the top of the cross?
Circle, yes, it's a ball.
It's a ball?
Yes.
Okay. Like a bouncing ball or just a circle?
Circle.
Oh, okay. Anybody else have any thoughts? Want to share?
My take on this, I mean, obviously it is definitely the same elements, maybe some of the same symbolism. I'm going to go ahead and guess this was also done in the 80s, because it seems like it was, some of the things were reused. In the same way there was a shoe, I'm assuming that maybe this foot also stands for poverty, right? And maybe the placement in terms of all these elements being where the brain would be, it just shows that these are the things that are on this man's mind. You can see the pain in his face and maybe the alcohol as a coping mechanism for all of these things. I'm not really sure about the ball. And scripture could also be, in terms of the Bible, this could also, the paper, the scroll could be more scripture. And the colors, they stand out. It's a very, very good job. I just can't really wrap my mind around what their significance is. does come together well.
All right. Oh, thank you. Now I see that 3 people, every time I try to click to see the name of the people, I wind up moving forward on the PowerPoint. So I'm just going to hope that you guys can work out who wants to go next.
I
There
can
were
go
3.
next.
Okay, Delvin.
So I'm looking at the placement of the cross with respect to the face and the foot, and where the face is under the cross, it sort of echoes the theme of the previous piece, where religion could be used to oppress the Black people. And if you look at where the foot is, you could also say that it's a way to lift us up, and it could be a sort of foundation. So it just shows the duality of how we look at religion.
How interesting. Okay, there were 2 other people. Who wants to go next? Pierre, were you wanting to go or not?
Well, I guess I had one last thought. I did not.
You didn't raise your hand.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, actually, so the ball to me, I see it the same way. It kind of evoked the same thing to me as the bottle. So the bottle, so the ball, to me, has symbolized all these. First of all, it's something for us to escape. Also, like a lot of sport that that is actually thrown toward us in the media, and also the fact that a lot of us use the way to escape poverty is actually through sports. So but at the same time it's somewhat as an illusion, because obviously not that many of us will have the kind of talents that we could use it as a vehicle to advance. So in that sense, I could see, to me, both the bottle and the ball kind of I find that as two escapist theme to me. They both speak to escapism in our community.
Okay, great. Was there anybody else who wanted to say something or give their impressions? Leon?
Yeah, I guess I'll go. Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and go. But I don't get the same sense of despair in this image as I got in the first one. It was more obvious with the chaos. In the previous picture, chaos and peace, versus this particular one here with certainly religion is central to it, but I see a bit more order here and a lot less despair, to be quite honest with you, in my opinion.
Okay.
So possibly this could be more of a more positive view of religion. Yeah, that would be my thing. It's more ordered for me. Okay. And the cross bit is more centralized.
Charles Emmanuel, and I think this will be the last one after I say what I think it is, so we won't stay too long on one picture. But Charles Emmanuel, you have your hand raised. Just go ahead and talk. Charles Emmanuel, are you there? I see that he has his hand raised, but I guess, I don't know if he can hear me. Anyway, what I see here, I think I do. Oh, I'm sorry about the phone. That's my business phone. What I'm seeing, maybe the duality somebody mentioned, I've seen this scroll here as representing wisdom, and it's aligned here with the original drum, African drum. So maybe the wisdom from Africa on this side. On this side, it's almost like religion being the opiate of the masses. I forgot who said that. Marx, maybe. It can be the opiate of the masses, or escapism through religion. So like, to me, and the foot looks like it's like when somebody has their foot on you, it's like, shutting you down or holding you down in a way. So maybe in that sense, religion can hold you down. But then on the maybe they're saying religion can crush you, but we have to go back to the old wisdom, African wisdom. And I don't know what the ball means. So we'll give it to back to Mark to give us what you had in mind when you were doing this. Oh, let me put the name. Okay, that gives us some sense. Mark, do you want to elaborate?
All right.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
No, this is LaRoche. I happen to be on my other computer, so there's no visual. But to me, in looking at this picture, I just was finally able to join you guys. Looking at this picture, is despite, to me, what it represents, despite the duality, despite the complexity of lives, whether somebody try to step on you or whether you have scroll, but it looks like religion is foremost in our thoughts. And that's why it keeps us going. And then, so to me, that's what I see. The symbol, the religious symbol being there to accommodate no matter what goes in our life.
Okay. Thank you.
Remember, guys, I said the first one, I painted the first one in 1984. And this one, I painted it 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Wow.
And I call it the Africanization of a people. To me, what I wanted to represent here was, remember, one of the first acts that the Westerners have posed was to baptize and change our names. All right, they baptize us, they change our names. And they imposed Christianity upon us. And they made us we had to reject our own religion and started praying to a new God that we could not identify with. All right. And to me, this is how the de-Africanization process started. And that's why wherever we go, remember when we look at pictures of Christopher Columbus, the first thing that he implanted was a cross. Of course, that's the beginning of Christianity. So to me, that these are all the things that were going to my mind. And one other thing that I want to mention is the fact that I love surrealism, because surrealism, one thing that it allows you to do is to juxtapose form, whatever you want to juxtapose. And you don't have to worry too much about composition, space, so on and so forth. You create your own space. And that's what you see in my work. And sometimes that's why you see all those juxtapositions. And lately I've been using more colors as opposed to the first painting was a little bit monochromatic. And it looked more a little bit sad, a little bit sad. But this one looks happier because of the colors. But the message, it's still the same. I haven't deviated from my thought process. It's still going on, and I'm finding new ways of portraying what I want to portray. And I have to tell you, Barbara, this is the first time I'm doing that, because usually people who know me, they know I don't talk about my art. I don't discuss my art. This is a new forum for me, and I appreciate it, because most of the time I listen to people. I let them interpret the work, and I'm happy. I'm happy whatever they get, but now I'm forced to talk about it, and which is good. It's good, and we're among friends. We can talk,
Absolutely. Well, it's good to do something new. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next picture. You have so much going on in the picture that we could always stay for the whole.
Yeah, I'm about to say we can stay right there. We were going to talk about the bottle a little bit, but I guess the comments about the bottle, was that about people drinking and?
Oh yes, to talk. You, Leon. That's Leon. Leon, Leon and Bryce. you touch upon it. You know, you touch upon this the bottle. Basically, we drank to forget things. But after when we come sober, the problems still are still there. They don't go away. They don't go.
To escapism. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Here, well, people are coming in one after the other. Okay. Here's another one here. This is very interesting. And there's less going on, so maybe we can focus. So what, does anybody have any thoughts about what this conveys to them?
Yeah, for me, I would say I see life and death, and I look at I don't know if the tears could be maybe rain or is that tears of sadness, but overall, my initial impression of this is some sort of a statement on the egg being life and the tree with no foliage on it representing death or no life in some sort of way.
Okay. Anyone else?
Sorry, I'm writing a few things. I hope you don't mind.
No, no problem. Anybody else want to raise their hand and say what maybe this, like Mark said, there's no right or wrong answer. So whatever it is that you are, I'm looking in the chat here. My chat doesn't. Okay, Pierre, go ahead.
Judith.
So I see fertility to the eggs, to the water where so it's kind of like a combination of hope and despair. Where I see fertility with the egg and the water or tears that is bringing some grass coming out of the ground. I also see a broken tree with no branches, no leaves, and tears. In a face that is cast stern. So it's kind of like a combination of hope and despair.
Oh, okay. I just want. Oh, Pierre, did you want to speak as well?
Yeah, I wanted to say quickly that I kind of see the same thing. The egg to me, it is as if there is. It's saying that our circumstances is pretty dire with the tree, for instance, almost barren. But then there is still a lot of hope to me and a lot of fight in us with that egg. I find that that means that there is a lot of things that can germinate and provide a better future. I'm struck by the tears. The tears are so big, and it's as if, like Judith, my wife, said, it's as if the tears are so big that could actually kind of really make the soil fertile by providing water enough for the soil, basically. But yeah, that's so my thought is kind of very similar to Judith, my wife.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to read like a couple of comments that were in the chat because I have been. Valerie Ledline says there's a sadness of new life being brought into a desolate, dead world. And Natasha Alexandra is misery, dry life. I'm not sure what that means. Natasha, do you want to elaborate on that?
Oh, actually, Actually, it's a great imagination for Mark to bring this. So I have another thought. So seeing the egg, so meaning like even though people are in misery, they're still making kids. So that's probably why he's thinking. So I don't know. So it's dry, the tears, the egg, and somebody look sad and miserable. So that's probably the first thought. But I think he meant like with the egg, even though there's still misery, there's still dry life, and then people still making, kids are still being born. So I don't know.
Okay. Mark Gaston has his name and raised? Mark Gaston Jr., I think.
Yeah. I saw it almost as a revolving door, like there's stages, there's birth, and then there's, a life of oppression, and, the quality of life is seen in the tree, because even though the tree is alive, it's, the branches are dead. There's not much leaves on it for growth. So I think it just speaks on the, revolving door of oppression.
Yes, it seems that in the first picture, I think the tree with no branches on it, Mark did say that there was life, but it wasn't growth. The life of the tree had been impacted. And I think maybe, in my opinion, maybe this child or person is grieving for the loss of African ways, I think maybe. And the egg of new life in a new place, there is always still hope. It's kind of, but then there's also like people said, this death, life and death kind of thing, the death of an old way of life and the birth of a new way. But there's always grieving for that as well. Does anybody else want to share?
Yes.
Marshall.
Hi.
Hello.
Can you tell me what's the meaning of the egg?
Oh, I will tell you what does it mean to you?
I'm trying to figure it out because I see a child, a sad child crying, and there's an egg also, and I don't know the meaning of the eggs. Can you elaborate on that for me?
Yes, I will. Well, of course, definitely. Barbara, would you mind putting the title up?
Yes, sorry, I keep forgetting about the title. Okay. The blessings of the earth. Huh.
You guys see the title?
Yeah, do you see it?
Hold on a second. Okay. Oh, the blessing. Okay. Okay. Okay, I got it.
All right. To me, a child is always a bundle of joy. All right. It evokes life. A child it evokes life. It is the future. It is hope. It is always a blessing to the earth. That means life goes on. And and what you see in my painting, even what you think, I mean, there are tears, but there are tears of in this painting, there are tears of joy. All right, there are tears of joy. It's like no matter what, we will overcome. We'll overcome. There will always be life. We will always, as a people, we're strong. We'll always overcome all the challenges. Life will always goes on. There's always hope. Always hope. And there's always hope. There's always a future to when we look at our children, the children of our children. There's always hope, and that's basically what I want to convey in this painting. And as you can see, the the colors are not as some people may think that my previous colors, some of them was the first painting was sad, a little bit sad, but these colors, I think they're beautiful, they're nice. I see a lot of joy, a lot of hope in this painting.
Okay. Harold LaRoche has pretty much had it down pat when he said,
exactly.
In the chat, while we may be living in a desolate world, hope is still present.
Yes. You guys are great. You guys are awesome. Marshall, the egg is a symbol of life. It's life. Symbol of life.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to the next one. Oh. This is, for a minute, I thought it was the first one. This is the second. This is one with the same colors. Did you do this in 84?
Yes, same period.
Okay.
Same period.
Okay, this one has a lot in it. So anybody want to share their impressions? Anybody at all?
Well, central to this picture, which is interesting, it pops up at first. What I see is a lot of misery, people suffering, but yet religion remain within the central aspect of this. Now, the interesting thing is that the person with the mask, I don't know if it represents the Muslim aspect of religion, which is very interesting in looking at what's behind it. But yet within that misery, with blood coming out of the pipe, but yet you still see that one child walking within all that misery. So it kind of reminds you, when you see the certain picture of Somalia, you see all that the people dying and everything that's going on, yet this child is still walking around within that desperate world that's going on around her.
Very interesting. Anyone else?
Yes, there's some grass.
Life?
There's always life.
Always.
Yeah.
There's a cross in the foot. It's the cross of foundation, it looks like. Foundation.
Oh yeah, there's also food.
It also looks like the hand is white with a tobacco product in it. So it makes me think that the misery of the enslaved allows the pleasure of the white person who enjoys the tobacco and owns the tobacco farm. And yet it is the price of blood there.
Is that tobacco in the background? Right by the pipe?
Imagining the pipe.
I'm wondering.
Maybe that's tobacco growing. I don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, but it looks something like that. I think maybe it is. I didn't know if this would be tobacco or drugs.
I interpreted it as tobacco as well. The same impression. When I look at the hand of the oppressor, when I look at the looks like they're in a suit. From looking at the sleeve, and it looks like an overcoat or a jacket. It looks like the tobacco business with blood on its hands.
And dirty hands.
Yep.
Your hands are dirty.
Yeah.
But so remember, while it may, again, that's my interpretation, look at tobacco, but I look at it more as the blood of the enslaved that's being, that they're being surmised to. So it made to me look more of the blood of what's going on in the background and the misery.
I see it as like you see the cross is coming from there's a foot there and the cross is coming out from the foot, and then you see all the faces back there. I see it as like the suffering from all of our ancestors is like the foundation where everything starts from for us, our religion, everything we're fighting for today. I feel like the foot and the cross represent the foundation for that. And the faces, and the faces back there represent like the suffering of our slaves, of our ancestors and stuff. And then as you see the guy, I don't know if the guy's talking to the tree or walking by the tree, but if he's talking to the tree, it's definitely, probably having a conversation with the people that has passed away, and he's pretty much praying or, worshiping the tree. That's how I see it.
Yeah, the tree is dead, it looks like.
Yeah, correct.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of see the road that the person's walking on. It looks like they have different ways that they can go, maybe interpreting that as different paths that one could take.
This is such an interesting picture. Now, over here by the woman at the far left, what is that, a tree?
Yes, it is a tree. It is also another tree.
Okay, a dead tree. And these are little branches, little twigs by her hair, top of her hair?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe, okay, we're talking about tobacco. I guess it's a form of drugs, but maybe another sense of escapism and making you be quiet. You know, she's silent, you know, and just go ahead and engage in some escapism. But it looks, I'm not sure if this man is asleep or, and so if he's asleep, then it makes think maybe this tobacco keeps you kind of like dazed. Or if he's dead, or is he high? But I think I'm going with him being asleep.
Okay.
Any other thoughts? Anybody? Let me check the chat, because the chat is not showing up the way it normally does.
Now, this was done. This picture was done before COVID, correct?
1984.
Okay, all right.
Yes, you signed it on the first.
I said 84. See, that's
Yeah, 84.
It was on 84, and that was the same time that I did the first one, Chaos of Peace.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so are we ready to have the reveal, or someone else want to say something? Okay. Bloody pipe. Okay, but what does that mean?
Okay, this painting it addresses an issue, the issue of those who works and earn very low wages in general, and yet bring enormous wealth to other segment of society. That's basically what this painting is about. People working hard, making low wages, and somebody else is benefiting from it. And where did that start?
So this guy, the business owner, white person, has blood on his hands and dirty hands and blood on his hands. He's the bad guy, in a lack of a better word. One who's.
But also remember, these people. I mean, our ancestors. In history, I mean, I'm a student of history. Remember, in history, we learned that they went to get our ancestors from Africa so they could come and work the land for free. We work for free, work the land for free. And who benefited? Who benefited from this work? Who benefited from this work? All right. And religion was the central of this traffic. It was there. They were part of it. Their hands are in there. Western religion, the hands are in there, and that's part of their hands also. It's not just one hand, it's a lot of hands. That's a lot of hands. And
it definitely looks like desolation going on, though.
Yes, that's what I wanted to portray in this painting, and that's another thing. That's another thing. When I said the relevancies of the work, that's what Barbara touched. When Barbara touched that, I was very, very happy, because I did it in 84, and even when we look at it right now, it's basically the same things are still happening. They're happening at a different level, but they're still happening. Even if they don't happen in the United States, they happen somewhere in the world. They happen all over the world.
That happens here in the United States.
Yes, I know.
It's like capitalism. Still happens.
I didn't want to say it, but thank you for saying it.
That's one of the thing I saw, again, like I said, central to the cross, which is a religion, but also that's what I referred to as this person with the veil, the Muslim religion. In other words, there was something else going on that keep people hope. It wasn't necessarily the Catholic cross that we see as a symbol, but also their own religion keeping them going.
True.
Okay.
You guys are doing very well. I love it.
Two people raised their hand. These are going to be, or did they speak already?
I just raised my hand.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to ask Marco, how does the title relate to the painting, or does it relate, or is it supposed to?
Oh, what do you mean? How does it relate to the painting?
Well, the title "Bloody Pipe."
Yes.
I just want help figuring out how it relates to
the
theme
painting.
of the painting. Yeah.
I think that's the title. I think that's one of my most obvious title. We have a pipe.
Well, I think I understand what he's saying. It's like you identify the pipe as the major item in the painting.
Yes.
As opposed to like the other things that are going on. So
Okay.
what's in the pipe that is
everything? I mean, what's in the pipe is the result of everything that is going around here.
Oh, I get it. You just had to give me some time to catch up. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
You
Does someone else have their hand up before we move on? Pierre or Mrs. Gray?
I wanted to say quickly to me, the pipe definitely jump at me in the painting. With all of everything that is there, the pipe to me is very central in the sense that, at least in my mind, a pipe is usually associated with prosperity. Somebody was like, was not smoking a cigarette, they are smoking a pipe. So that somebody who pretty much has arrived, who is like at a different level of comfort and prosperity. And to me, I see here that somebody definitely who has some level of prosperity, but based on that misery that the rest of the painting is trying to display. So that's why to me that the pipe is so kind of jump at me.
Okay. Great. So I'm going to move us along a little more quickly. Maybe we might not get to everybody's comments because we want to get to, it's already after 8. So we want to get to more, as many pictures as we can. Now this should be interesting. This is one whole painting or two paintings put together?
Two paintings. That's a diptych. Two paintings and two separate canvases, and they are joined by the.
What is that joining them?
By some rods, small rods.
Oh, okay. Oh wow. Any thoughts going on here? I'm seeing, well, since no one else is saying anything.
I see ecstasy.
You see ecstasy?
Yeah.
I'm seeing the opposite, but Mark Gaston?
Yeah, so I think earlier you spoke on the egg being, a symbol of like hope in the future. And this time around, you can see there's blood and the egg is being destroyed in a way. And I'm guessing media has some type of influence on why that's happening. So I haven't made a full association with the bottom half.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that in the back. Is that a computer or a TV? It probably looks like a computer.
That's an old-fashioned TV.
Oh, old-fashioned TV.
Oh, we forget about them already, huh?
Yeah.
That screen.
It's flat screen. It's an old painting.
Yeah, because other than that TV,
If you look at the face itself.
The face looks to me like agony.
Doesn't look
Anguish.
like agony to me.
No, you think it's over? Yeah,
Look at that half smile.
Really? Like with the future of the death of new life. I was almost thinking abortion, but but maybe the media perspective is killing our youth, maybe, and that's an agony. To me, it looks like agony, but maybe I've got it all wrong.
When was this painting done, Mark?
What?
This painting was on 92, 93.
Okay. Because looking at it reminds me when you go to the opera and you see those masks being worn, and then I don't know if it's the hidden vision of the reality of the television being going away, or the unmasking of what's going on at this time of that period of time in our life.
Okay, I'm reading in the chat from Barbara Bornstein. Asking if that's a pacifier coming out of the TV. I see bliss. So is that a pacifier?
I don't know if it is, but that's what I saw when I first looked at it.
Okay.
And it looks to me like this person is being pacified by the garbage that comes out of the TV.
Perfect.
Could be.
Yeah. I had the same kind of a very similar reaction. I'm looking at the face, like somebody else mentioned. There's a sense of ecstasy. Somebody is pacified, but I'm puzzled by the fact that she has her eyes closed. So it is as if to me you're saying that she's watching TV, but she's really sleeping in a way. So the TV is putting her to sleep. That seemed to say to me. So in that sense, yes, so the TV is actually lulling her to forget her life kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow. So that's interesting. I think I'm the only one that sees a grimace or pain. So maybe she's being lulled. Oh, I'm sorry. Is somebody talking?
What makes you say she instead of he?
Well, I don't know. It looks like a woman to me. Maybe it's a he.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I thought of a she at first is because I guess of the lipstick or something that could that looks to me like lipstick.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes. So please enlighten us. Let me show the title. Oh, damn it. Sorry. Pacificator.
Yes. Media. To me, what I was, Barbara, it's like Barbara. Most of you were right on point. To me, the TV. That's exactly what I wanted to portray. The media, especially the TV. It's a tool. It is a tool to inform. It also, to me, it's also a tool to control. All right. It is a powerful device. Oh, I heard. Okay, and that can now imprison. It imprison one's mind, and it can also make people very passive and unproductive by sitting and absorbing all day long. And
that's a pacifier. It is a pacifier.
Yes. Basically, that's what it does. It pacifies us. That's all it does. And remember the egg that Mark was touching on, the egg, the TV. What it does, it kills our brain. It kills us to a certain extent. It stops us from being as productive as we should or what we could be.
So yeah, you put the kids in front of the TV. That's where it starts, right? I think there's some background noise or something. I don't know where it's coming from. Okay, you guys had it. Yeah, you guys had it right.
Nice.
Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Sorry, I have a final question. Sorry.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering if you were doing this painting now, what would you identify as like comparable to the TV? Like maybe when you did this in 92.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right now we see kids with electronic devices. I mean, we have different. I mean, we have all type of devices. The kids, the telephone. It's one device that we can identify it with instead of a TV, because from our phone we can get whatever we need to get. We watch TV on our phone. We play games on our phone. We do everything on our phone. So now the phone will replace the TV. I mean, as a device, but it's still the same. It's still the same philosophy. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What do you think, Omar? Omar, you think it's what do you think?
Yeah, because I'm actually joining this and I'm using my phone to join this, and I
okay. Nothing personal, Omar.
Like how many times I like touch my phone on a given day, and it's really kind of very symbolic to what this painting is doing here. It makes me feel good, and make me forget about some things that I should probably focus on.
Yes, we all go through that. I'm telling you, that's a problem. We all go through that now.
Okay, let's
although it seems to me, so you mentioned, Mark, that you did that piece in the 1990s. So I guess the way, and I thought that was a great question, asking about, I guess there are new threats, and obviously there's social media. There is a lot of other challenging things, I think, with the media. But still, it seems to me that there is also a lot of quality TV nowadays that were not available in the 1990s. I mean, there is so much diversity, and with all of these different streaming services, you could be on YouTube, for instance, and watch TV and be educated about all kind of things all day. There is a different mix now, but probably you could still probably do a very similar painting with other threats that media posed to us that is slightly different than, I think, in the 1990s.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%, because there's always a good and the bad side in everything. But sometimes we tend to gear towards the bad, and because the bad tends to affect us more.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes than the good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on. Oh, we have the Pacificator. Now this one has me very confused. So what impressions do you get with this?
Lynching?
The tree, there's a gap in it.
And what stands out to me more is the noose that's on the tree versus the tree with the gap.
Right, Leon.
Yeah.
What did you say? I couldn't hear you.
There's a noose on the tree.
There's a noose, definitely, yes.
Having read a few books recently, to me it looks like the person at the forefront looking back at the way he escaped, what some of his forefathers have gone through. That he was able to migrate somewhere else, and now looking back at, he could have been lynched, he could have been hanged, and looking back at that history.
So maybe that's what the gaps in the tree is, like gaps in your knowledge about your past or family tree or something.
When I think of a tree, I think of a tree of life, and this is the noose breaks, discontinues that life, that string of life.
That's the tree of death.
But yeah, the life is cut short, or the tree is cut.
I see it as like, the tree is like, I see the tree as like a success, and as you're climbing the tree, there's challenges. That's why you see the gap, and then the challenges are so hard. As you can see, there's like a cord, just in case things are not going the way you want it. There is a way out for you, which might be suicide. I don't know if that's what it means. The challenges might be so tough that you might want to give up and just let yourself hang. But as you're climbing the tree, there's like challenging, there's gap, and it's harder for you to reach the top.
Okay, I'm going to show because we're running out of time. I want to show a few more pictures. The title is it showing?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't see it because I have stuff on the bottom here. What is the title? Because I can't see it.
Can't see it.
Gina 6, 2016 in memoriam.
Does it show? Is it showing?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Gina 6, 2006 in memoriam. I don't know if you guys remember what happened in Gina in Louisiana.
Gina?
That's a town in Louisiana, and there were I think there was the high school. That was at the high school, and there was a tree where the white students used to sit. And one day, one black student went inside there, and the next day they had 3 nooses hanging. And the media was alerted, and the school administrator, school authority cut down the tree where the nooses were hung.
Oh.
When you look at the painting, this is exactly what that's the reason why I did this painting. And to me, when they cut down the tree where the nooses were hung, they did not, the fundamentals, they have not unrooted the racism that was there. And it remains in the forefront. And as a society, we must work together to unroot that evil. To me, that's when you look at the tree, you see the tree is cut.
Mm-hmm.
They cut the tree down, and although they cut the tree, to me the tree
noose is still there.
The noose is still there. The roots of racism are still there. They haven't unrooted racism, and look at us now in 2021, and we're still having the same problem. That's the reason why I left a gap I left a gap to show you, although they cut the tree symbolically, but the roots of racism are still there.
Wow.
Oh, can I just say real quick, that was a great imagination. I thought it was like somebody want to commit suicide and change his mind, so he got second thoughts. So that's a good one, Mark.
Yes, because what happened is that there's a history. The noose in American history is something really, really negative. So yes, that's why I yes, that's why I have it here.
Okay, I think the next one's going to be our last one, even though it might be a few more. And this is the famous one that was on the flyer. So what are folks seeing here?
It's a drawing, by the way. It's a drawing.
Yeah, charcoal?
Yes, charcoal.
Mm-hmm.
My first impression is it's a black man with a target on his back.
Mm-hmm.
Leon, right on point.
You know what, symbolically though too, it's not the whole man. It's like these people who do this don't see him as a fully human, because his head's cut off and his legs are cut off. He's a part, like 3/4 of a man or something. People who put this target on your back, they don't see him as really human or fully human.
Yes.
It's interesting because when it says that the target on his back, I was thinking of more a black man trying to get to his target, to where he wants to go, to his goal.
I'll see it as more, as the black man is the target, because he's standing in front of the target, so the target is not on his back. He's just the target. Period. He's just a walking target.
And I think, to follow up with that, I think especially the fact that he has no face, it's just a black man in general who is a target.
Faceless, yeah. Okay, guys, we want a few minutes to close, because I think that Mark has a nice announcement that they'd like to make. This is pretty much the target practice.
Yes.
Number one, which speaks for itself in a way. And then very quickly, the next one, which is like the poor little kids have the, target practice number 2.
Yes, 1 and 2, because the first one was as you guys said, black men have always been seen as target by the police and by society, and later on, I came to realize that even children weren't spared. Children of color were not exempt from police brutality. They also become a target at an early age of their lives. Okay, so that's the reason I did this too. I did the first one, and then I did this one as the second one.
You know what I think is also, like, he's wearing the hat. He looks a little older than his probably young age, and studies have shown that people often see black children as older than they actually are.
Yes. Yes, they do.
And more threatening as well.
Yes.
Okay, so this is, we're going to stop here. We saw quite a few of them, and I hope everybody enjoyed this exercise. As you said, there's no wrong answer, but there's a lot of relevance here. I did record this, and I'm hoping, I don't see that. Oh, I'm hoping that, I can share that when it's done. Let me very quickly look in the chat. I see there were 3.
I'm sorry, I have 2 questions before you go. It's really important. Like, I want to know, Mark, as an artist, do you what come to mind to name your paintings? And then the second question, can you tell a character of a painter based on his work?
Can I tell?
Anybody, not you. It's can I just tell based on what you do, your work? I could say, oh, Mark is such and such. So can I tell your character from that? And then what come to your mind to name your painting? Because they seem hard. They don't match up. Like the pipe. I didn't get to ask my question. The pipe, bloody. It's when you answer it that I realized that's probably close to tobacco. That tobacco been killing people. That's probably what's in mind. I don't know. Because I didn't see the point on the pipe. I don't know what the pipe, representing on the picture. But when you mentioned the pipe, is the killer, then I realized, okay, that's probably, a factor. You can always on tobacco, cancer, things like that.
So, the first thing I want to tell, I don't know if I understand your question very well. I'm going to try my best. Number one, you can always tell an artist by his work. I don't know if that's what you really want. Yeah, you can always tell an artist by his work. Once you familiarize yourself with the artist, you can tell. Once you see the work, I know there are certain people, once they see my work, they know, they say this is a Mark Gasson. This is a Mark Gasson. You have to understand, you have to learn my language, my vocabulary, you see, once you get used to it, you'll be able to tell this is, when you walk in, they say this is a Mark Gasson. That's number one. Number two, painting. One great thing I said at the beginning about painting, there's no wrong or right answer. It has to do with your experience as a person and how you can relate that experience to the piece that you're looking at. It should be a communication between you and the artwork. I mean, personally, I have pieces that I've done and that I hated. I put them away, never look at them again. All right, but I have pieces that I love. I love them. Titles sometimes titles are obvious, sometimes they are not, and I don't take a long time to title or to name my paintings. Sometimes some of my paintings are untitled to me, the title sometimes is not that relevant. It's not that important. For the same reason, my name on the painting is not that important. The most important thing for me is the work. You look at the work, you interact with the work, you experience the work, and then you find out it's a Mark Gaston, or if it's a Jean-Dominique, or it's a, so on and so forth. And I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, you did.
I did?
Yes,
Oh.
you did. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, we just want to make sure we show this, that Mark has an exhibit, a live exhibit at Valley Arts in Orange, and it's all brand new works that you haven't seen, and I don't think they're on the website either. I'm not sure. But so that you see them Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays. So the Valley Arts is at 400 South Jefferson Street in Orange.
Yes.
And Fridays from 12 to 6, and Saturdays and Sundays from 2 to 6. So I hope you guys go down. The artwork is for sale as well, if you're interested in it, and purchasing anything. Or I guess you can talk to Mark for anything if you, I can't speak for him, but if you wanted to. Trying to figure out, okay. Screen is paused. I want to go back to his website. Sorry about that. Oh, come on. I'm gonna just leave you with this website if you want to get in touch with him. Thank you so much, Mark, for participating in this. I know this was rather new for you, but I hope you enjoyed it as much as we all did.
Oh, thank you to everyone for coming, and it was a great experience for me. And thank you, Barbara, for having me. Hopefully, we'll do it again, and hopefully, I'll see everyone maybe in person or whichever way we do it. Thank you.
Would love to do it again.
And I need to hang a Mark Gaston in my living room. I have a space for it.
We'll go to the exhibit tomorrow, Friday. Go to the exhibit.
Mark, you should say for the right price.
For the right price.
Hey, this is an original work of art. It's worth paying for, and it's an investment. One of these days, it's going to be worth millions of dollars because Mark Gaston's going to be famous. And we had at the highest number, we had 41 people. So that's wonderful.
That was good.
So goodbye, everybody, and thank you so much for coming.
Yes, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good
Bye-bye.
night, everyone.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Okay. Trying to end. Bye-bye.
Bye.
With the recording. Okay. Now, okay, I'm going to introduce our wonderful local artist, Mark Antoine Gaston. Before I do, I would suggest everybody to put, well, after I finish reading this, everyone should put their, I don't know what you call it, your view on speaker view, because we're going to be sharing a PowerPoint and you want to see it as large as possible. Okay, you don't want to see a little tiny little picture. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Mark Gaston, who was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti on July 17, 1960. He was the youngest of a family of 4. He immigrated to the United States in 1980 and attended Mason Gross School of the Arts at Rutgers University in New Brunswick. where he earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts in 1985 and a Master's of Fine Arts in 1987. As a graduate student, he was awarded a teaching assistantship, and he taught photography for 2 years, which is another of his many skills. Mark was privileged to study under some prominent artists, such as Leon Golub, Melvin Edwards, and Emma Amos. Mark's work has been shown in New York, New Jersey, California, Georgia, and Haiti, and he's currently an art instructor in the state of New Jersey. Mark says that art is the safest venue to convey his thoughts and feelings without any fear or reservation. And his role as an artist is to visually challenge his viewers and engage them in civil discourse that goes beyond the visual. And his work echoes his surroundings in many ways. So without further ado, I'm going to let Mark just tell you a little bit about his artwork, and then we'll get on with the program. Again, I suggest that you put your does everybody know how to change their view to speaker view? If anybody needs help, up in the top right-hand corner, there's 9 boxes you can click on. When you click on that, it says speaker view at the very top. You can click on that and you should just see whoever is speaking, taking over your whole screen. Okay, Mark.
Good evening, everyone.